Hello and welcome to our live coverage of the New York City mayoral election. I'm Oliver Hall.
And I'm Skylar Winston.
Tonight, the city, the country and the world watch as New York City elects its next mayor.
From Columbia University in the heart of Manhattan, we'll bring you expert analysis and live reaction from watch parties across the city. Are you ready, Oliver?
I'm so ready, Skylar. This has been a campaign like no other. Zohran Mamdani shocked the political world when he beat Mayor Eric Adams and former Governor Andrew Cuomo in June's Democratic primary. Both Adams and Cuomo chose to stay in the race and fight the young Mamdani as independents.
Mayor Adams, embroiled in scandal and trailing in the polls, has since withdrawn from the race. Cuomo remains Mamdani's closest challenger and hopes to shock all of the pollsters with the victory tonight. Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa is also still in the running.
Mamdani has run a campaign tightly focused on the affordability of the city that he hopes to lead and promised radical reforms to tackle the cost of living. His opponents have sharply criticised his lack of experience and his associations with the Democratic Socialist Alliance. Now, the campaigning has ended, the polls have closed, and the early voting results are in.
We're here outside Gracie Mansion in New York City. It's kind of like the mayor's equivalent of the White House. And since the 1940s, starting with Fiorello LaGuardia, every mayor, with the exception of Michael Bloomberg, has called this place home. And tonight, we're finding out who's going to be living here next. But first, let's talk about its current resident, Mayor Eric Adams. His 4 years in office have been best defined by rising prices and political corruption scandals. But still, the mayor decided to throw his hat in the ring one more time as an independent. But after a summer of barely polling above 10%, the mayor sat on the indoor steps just inside there and decided he was dropping out. Meanwhile, in his party, a civil war of sorts was brewing. Democratic Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani bested former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo in June's Democratic primary. Mamdani has captivated the youth vote, championing social programs and gaining massive popularity across social media platforms. But still, Andrew Cuomo believes he can win in the general election, and he decided to stick it out. He's using his experience as governor and his political background to appeal to moderate voters and business interests across the city. Two's company, but three's a crowd. And that's where Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, comes in. The Republican candidate is running a tough-on-crime campaign that's focused on getting New York streets safer. Three distinct candidates, three distinct visions for New York City, but only one of them is going to get to call this place home come January. Skylar and Oliver, back to you in Morningside.
That was our reporter Zach yesterday at Gracie's Mansion. Thanks, Zach.
Now we're heading to polling sites at the Morningside Heights Library, hearing from reporter Victoria Newsom, who is asking New Yorkers who'd they like to be their next mayor.
Thank you, Skylar. Right now, I'm outside, like you said, the polling site on 113th and 114th Street. So far, we heard from the workers they had to be here at 5 a.m. and all day long, they've been guiding people to vote, and not to persuade people to vote for a certain candidate, but also just advocating for them to show their democracy. All over the street, we've been seeing those signs, those arrows leading towards different polling sites across the nation. And of course, this polling site, like many, have closed at 9 p.m. sharp. More updates to come soon. Back to you.
Thank you, Victoria.
All day, our reporters have been following the leading candidates across the 5 boroughs. They followed Andrew Cuomo on an open-top bus, Zohran Mamdani across the city, and Curtis Sliwa to Queens. There's been a record turnout with 2 million New Yorkers voting as of 8:45 p.m, according to the New York City Board of Elections. That's the highest turnout since 1969.
The polls have now slammed shut. Both candidates and the city are nervously awaiting the results. Throughout the day, voters have told us that their priorities are affordability and public safety. Soon we will know the next resident of the Gracie's Mansion.
Now, let's hear from some of the voters that our reporters have been speaking to today.
For Zohran. I felt that sense of hope back where people were excited and they saw themselves in a candidate speaking about issues that mattered. And a big thing in his campaign was affordable housing. So that was important to me.
I hope he can accomplish everything he set out to do.
Or just like create a different tone for the country, because we've just got too many old people who don't align with how we view the world.
I don't intend on voting. I'm sort of have I think it's politics fatigue. So I think coming out of last year's presidential election, I'm just completely exhausted. It also kind of seems like the die has already been cast.
I voted for Mayor Cuomo. He has the skills and the tenure from being in politics for so long to actually run the city. I think the idealism of Madani is a beautiful concept. I don't think it's reality for this city in this current age. It might be 50 years from now, way after I'm gone. I'm hoping it's true.
Yesterday, Skylar spoke with Professor Drumil Mehta about early voting patterns and their reliability. He's a Deputy Director of the Tao Centre for Digital Journalism here at Columbia and an expert in data journalism. With 36% of the votes counted, AP is reporting that Mamdani has 51% of the vote, just over 39% going to Cuomo and around 8% to Sliwa.
Today we have Professor Drumil Mehta, an Associate Professor in Data Journalism and the Deputy Director of the Tao Center for Digital Journalism. Thank you so much, Professor, for sitting down and talking with me today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So our first question, let's talk about early voting patterns. How reliable are they?
Yeah, so early voting patterns tell you exactly that, who voted early. And it's possible that the demographics of the people who vote early are not the same as the demographics of the people who vote on election day. So for instance, in other elections, older voters might vote more on election day while younger voters might vote early. If younger voters are skewing more towards Mamdani, it's possible that the early voting patterns won't give you an accurate sense of the actual election results. So they give you some idea of what's going on, but they're not going to tell you who's going to win.
Okay. And how can voters account for factors like mail-in ballots when analyzing voting turnout?
You'll see on television all kinds of reports of what's going on with mail-in ballots, what's going on with early voting, and it is valuable information because that's people who have already voted. But as I said before, the demographics are often different, right? So the people who turn out on election day may not vote in the same patterns as the people who sent in mail-in ballots or the people who early voted. It might give us a sense of the enthusiasm and the turnout. So if early voting is higher than previous years, it's also possible that the election night voting will be higher than previous years. So we get some clues about things like turnout, but I wouldn't trust anyone who says because of these patterns we know what's going to happen on election night.
Yeah, so now let's shift gears
and
let's talk a little bit about public opinion polls. What are the polls telling you and what's your take on them?
Yeah, so I think the polls, like I said, I've been sort of glued to the polling trackers because you'll see a lot of stories about, a poll just came out with Mamdani +5, the race is getting close, and that's not necessarily the case. I prefer to look at an aggregate of all the polls rather than any one individual poll. For instance, the New York Times has this public opinion polling tracker that shows you all of the polls of the race. And up until a day or two ago, they were mostly showing Mamdani in double digits above Cuomo, showing that he was the clear favorite. Now, I just see here in the polling tracker, there's two polls that have come out in the last day or two showing Mamdani +7 and Mamdani +5. Does that mean the race is tightening? Well, they're both from the same pollster. It's called Atlas Intel. I don't have any previous polls, so I can't say that same pollster's previous poll 2 weeks ago showed this and now it shows that. So I kind of take this with a grain of salt. Like, yes, there is some evidence, but I wouldn't write a big headline saying the race is tightening. There's just a little bit of evidence, but it's still showing Mamdani a little bit ahead.
So do you think it's still a good idea to watch the polls right now?
Yeah, I usually watch the polls sort of going into election day just to see what's going on, but there is no crystal ball, right? I think that there is a lot of prognosticating about what might happen. The polls give you a better sense in a national election. So if we're polling all Americans about who they're going to vote for president, you have a lot more polls. The sample size is a lot bigger. With a race like New York City mayor's race, you'll see a bigger margin of error, more volatility. So I would look at the polls to give you a very rough sense of what's going on. But I wouldn't look at these polls and say, oh yes, Mamdani is definitely going to win. It's not over until it's over, and we won't know until everybody votes and those actual votes start coming in.
Yes, well, okay. Well, thank you so much, Professor Mehta.
Thank you.
We appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Skylar. After the break, we'll go live to Curtis Sliwa's election headquarters and talk all things affordable housing.
When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could, Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician. And that was one of the #1 things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect and almost died. If my parents waited just 1 more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life.
And now my son is happy and healthy. The American Heart Association gives kids and families hope of a healthy future.
Learn more at helpheart.org.
Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa has remained in the race despite persistent pressure from Andrew Cuomo and President Donald Trump to drop out. Indeed, the president offered his endorsement to not the Republican nominee last night, but to Andrew Cuomo. This afternoon, Sliwa shared his thoughts with journalists about their campaign coverage.
Now we go live to Lauren Ong at his election night headquarters. Hi there. Thanks for
I'm
looking.
here at the Curtis Sliwa Watch Party, an Italian restaurant at the Upper West Side, and the buzz is really going on tonight. Earlier, they had the music on, supporters were dancing at the bar, getting the drinks, and some decked out in a red berets, a nod to Curtis Sliwa's Guardian Angels, a patrol group he has started in the late 1970s and a staple in his campaign. Now, at the entrance, they were giving out merchandise like tote bags and t-shirts, just like this one, which says, "Our heart beats for Curtis." Now, I'm here at the media pen, and it's getting increasingly busy as we're expecting Mr. Sliwa to arrive at this venue. He's not here just yet. He's set to arrive in about 15 to 20 minutes. And right behind me is the stage where he's set to address the crowd. Now, all this caps a full day of campaigning all across the city as he visited polling stations in Queens, Brooklyn, as well as Staten Island. I spoke to some supporters, and they tell me that they received a private invite, and many of them are here with their family, their friends, and they're really excited to see the results today. So lots more action over here in the following hours. We'll be giving you the updates as the clock ticks down. Back to you.
Affordable housing plans and freezing the rent have formed a large part of frontrunner Zohran Mamdani's campaign. This morning, he told reporters that he had voted in favor of ballot questions that seek to fast-track affordable housing developments and take power away from City Hall.
Yesterday, Skylar was joined by housing expert Galia Solomonov to discuss the state of housing in the city and those ballot questions.
So today we have Professor Solomonov, an architect and professor of professional practice. Welcome, Professor. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Professor Solomonov, you concentrate on research related to housing affordability crisis in New York City. U.S. Census data shows that since 2022, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are moving out of the city, leaving for many economic reasons. You've proven that income has increased at a much slower rate than rent across the city. Your research shows that housing in New York City has become more unaffordable every decade since 1983. Why is this problem getting worse? Even as the city continues to grow and develop, what's different about today's affordability crisis compared to past decades?
It has to do with a mismatch where salaries have become less valuable and homes have become more expensive. And so what you see is that in the 1970s, it took 2.5 years to save the equivalent of the value of a home. And now it's the value of a home is about, in New York City, the median, not Manhattan, but New York City, is $750,000. And the average income is it's on the $70,000 range. And so it takes 10 years to 10 full years of salary to purchase a home.
Now we're shifting gears here because it is election season. There are 3 ballot propositions this year that deal with housing, 2, 3, and 4. Proposition 2 is fast-track city-funded affordable housing in certain neighborhoods. Proposition 3 is fast-track modest projects up to 45 feet tall. And Proposition 4, create 3-person affordable housing appeal boards. As voters go to the polls, what policies or ideas should they be looking for from candidates or propositions who say they'll make housing more affordable?
There's pros and cons. The 3 propositions shift the balance of power from the smaller city neighborhoods and councils and council members to the mayor. So, for example, let's say there were 3 sites that were owned by the city and vacant, and those have become a park, a community garden over the last few years. And they are in an area where the city now wants to build housing. Let's say they want to build housing for seniors. So you have 3 lots that have become a park, and now the city wants to build housing in them. The current state of affairs allows the city council and the local communities to voice their opinion on that. The new proposition would shift that power to the mayor.
When the election results bring in new leadership in the city, what's the first thing, or is there something else that you would want them to start to do by addressing regarding the housing affordability gap?
So one of the propositions, the last proposition, the proposition number 5 is to do a digital plan of New York City. So that needs to be done first. We need a digital record of everything so that we can all access things more clearly and easily. And then we need to make a plan for affordable housing at the city and at the state level, and fast-track certain projects.
Thank you so much, Professor Solomanoff. We appreciate you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for this.
Thanks so much for that, Skylar. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo. After the break, we're going to hear from a reporter at Andrew Cuomo's headquarters. See you after that.
Right now, our world feels divided. But out here, we have so much in common. We fish the same waters, roam the same fields, raise families under the same open sky. Out here, there's no left or right. We all share a love of wildlife and wild places. But now, the animals we love and the lands we treasure are threatened, gone, unless we defend them. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about standing together, because up to 1 million species face extinction unless we unite and act to save them. We are their last line of defense. We are defenders of wildlife. Join us as we band together to protect our wildlife and wild places. Because in our love for what we share, we are closer than you think. Be a wildlife defender. Learn more at defenders.org.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo lost a Democratic primary to Zoran Mamdani in June by more than 12 points. After that, he chose to stay in the race as an independent, alongside sitting Mayor Eric Adams. Cuomo's pitch to voters has focused on his experience in office and public safety, and in recent weeks he's stepped up attack ads on Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani.
Now we return to Shivangi Sen, who is live at the Ziegfeld Ballroom in Midtown Manhattan with some of Andrew Cuomo's most loyal supporters. What's the mood there like, Shivangi, and are people still hopeful?
Hi, it's been a dramatic political comeback attempt, and tonight we aren't the only ones waiting for Andrew Cuomo to arrive at his watch party in Midtown Manhattan. His supporters have turned up in numbers, hoping to catch a glimpse of who they believe to be the future mayor of the city. Early results so far show Mamdani in the lead and Cuomo trailing at 39.7%, however. After losing the Democratic primaries earlier this year, Cuomo launched an independent campaign, and his message in the final stretch has been one of unity and experience. He has repeatedly told his supporters that he's the leader who brings people together, and that is exactly what New York City needs right now. Today, before the polls closed, Cuomo focused on turnout, visiting different parts of the city, especially parts in Harlem. He called this the most important election of his lifetime and encouraged New Yorkers to go out and vote. Cuomo's comeback hinges on whether enough voters are willing to separate his past controversies from his record in office. Win or lose, tonight's results will show whether political reinvention is still possible in New York, or if this election marks a generational shift in politics.
Thanks so much, Shivangi. Supporters of former Governor Andrew Cuomo hit the streets in party buses this morning, blasting music and hoping to encourage more New Yorkers to get out and cast their votes. They were also joined by Cuomo for a quick trip on board.
Here on the last day of the election, Andrew Cuomo's supporters have hit the streets in large numbers, trying to encourage voters to go out and vote for him. Here's what most of them had to say. Hi, sir. If you could just start off with your name and who you're voting for today.
Pat Tully, New York City resident for 26 years. Very careful about my tax dollars. I want them to go to public safety, things like our cops and our first responders. And I'm voting for Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo wants more police officers to make us be safer, especially on our subways, where there's a lot of issues happening right now. The other candidate, Zoe, whatever his name is, does it even matter? He wants to cut the cops, and he will. On day one, this is in his agenda. He has said that this is key to who he is as a politician.
Right now, New York is suffering from a cost of living crisis. There's affordability issues going on, and we've seen that there has been a huge crackdown on street vendors and immigrants as well. Do you think that Cuomo will be able to handle and tackle those issues?
Cuomo will be able to handle it the best way. He is a very kind man. He's a very humane man. He does things with his conscience. When he's already the mayor, I know that. He is going to work well with the immigrants. I know that. Whatever is best, he's going to do it. He's a very humane person. I know that Cuomo is leading, as I have heard, and today the party is going to go forth. It's already going forth. Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so excited, you know it.
Currently, he's trailing a few points behind Zoran Mamdani, who's leading the race. Do you think today it's going to turn the tide?
Today is going to turn it around because a lot of people, especially the Spanish community, I'm Dominican, we come out on election day. I believe that the community from volunteering and seeing, they are in strong support of him, and I believe that he will be our mayor.
As you can see, the enthusiasm and excitement amongst Cuomo's supporters are very high, and they are sure that the tide is going to turn in his favor by the time election ends at 9 p.m. tonight. All of them are encouraged about the fact that New Yorkers are going to go out there and vote for him and understand that the policies that he's fighting for will ultimately benefit this city, and he's the mayor that New York needs. Let's see what happens when election ends tonight. With camera person Gustav Mackinston, this is Shivangi Sen for CJS News.
Thank you, Shivangi. Yesterday, Zach took to Times Square to ask New Yorkers and visitors what they thought of the race. Here's what he found.
We're here in Times Square, the tourist capital of New York City and quite possibly the entire world. And tonight we're asking New Yorkers, people from out of state, and people from all across the globe, who they're supporting in the 2025 New York mayoral race. Let's get to it. You live in New York?
Born and raised.
So what makes you not want to vote tomorrow?
It's a long story, but whoever wins, I hope they do a good job and keep New Yorkers in their mind and help clean up the subway system. It's really unsafe down there.
So who would you vote for?
Boy, that's a tough one here, isn't it? I ask everybody here who they vote for. You know who they're going with?
Who are they going with?
What's the young guy's name?
Mamdani.
Yeah.
Who would you go with?
I'm a Republican, but I'd probably go with Como.
So we just came to enjoy New York before Mamdani wins. Hopefully he doesn't. So, enjoy it one last day before this place hopefully it doesn't go down, but.
So who would you vote for if you lived here?
Curtis Silva.
Who are you voting for?
I think Cuomo, whatever his name is.
Cuomo?
Yeah, I don't know how to say it correctly.
Yeah.
He's fabulous.
He's
He
fabulous?
is fabulous. He wants the best for New York.
You liked him as governor?
I don't really get into much to politics, but I've been recently educating myself on it. But I like his behavior and everything that he's doing
All right.
so far now.
Yeah. So Andrew Cuomo is who you'd vote for?
Yes.
All right. Who are you guys voting for tomorrow?
I'm not from New York City.
We're reporting on it too, so we care, but we can't vote.
Do you think it's good for journalists to vote in elections?
I think they definitely have a right to take part in the democratic process. I feel like it'll change the way people view their journalism if they are making endorsements. But I mean, there's so many lanes within journalism. You can be an opinion journalist, you can be a comedic journalist. It's really whatever you want to do with your career.
So who are you voting for tomorrow?
I prefer not to say, but not a Republican.
Not a Republican?
Not a Republican.
Are you voting for a Democrat?
I am voting for the guy who's going to get the job done. That's not Andrew Cuomo.
So that leaves one person, huh?
Yes.
And why are you voting for him?
We need a change. We need the billionaires out of New York right now.
Is this always kind of been your political feelings, or is this more a recent thing, being disenfranchised the mainstream Democrats, or kind of how'd you come to that? I'm just curious.
Because I grew up in New York City at a time when this place was a war zone. Where we're standing right now was surrounded by absolute decadence and poverty, and people were really struggling. And the city's finally rebounded. It's a happier place than it was when I was a kid. I'd like it to stay that way. And I think right now billionaires are pricing like the common person out of New York entirely.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's what the people in Times Square are saying. Not a whole lot of New Yorkers, but a whole lot of opinions. Back to you in the studio.
Public safety and crime are also key campaign issues in this election. Mamdani has proposed the formation of a Department of Community Safety, a civilian-led agency that would deploy mental health response teams instead of police for certain 911 calls. Cuomo's central public safety plan is to hire 5,000 new police officers, which, according to him, would bring the size of the force back to what it was 25 years ago.
Sliwa has called for an increase of 7,000 new NYPD officers and the reinstatement of the anti-crime unit.
Oliver spoke with public safety expert Professor Fagan to discuss this topic further.
I'd love you first to just outline how you understand the candidates' positions to be on public safety and policing.
Well, it's easy to understand Cuomo's position. He wants 5,000 more cops. There is some tension among criminologists about whether or not there's a positive return on investment in increasing the number, at the margins, increasing the number of police officers. It's not clear from the evidence because it confuses the question of how many cops there are with what the cops do. And so Cuomo is very reflexive. I think he's playing to the crowd, to the frightened crowd, by saying we want 5,000 more cops, we're going to keep you safe. I don't know that there's a guarantee of safety from 5,000 cops. But that seems to be his main thrust of his position. He doesn't have any tactical statements about what they would do, compared to, say, for example, I think, Sliwa basically says the same thing. We need more cops, but we need them. He's sort of smart in the sense of saying we need better cops, and so at least he recognizes that's a question. But Mamdani says very clearly we want to rethink policing and rethink public safety. And he's going to do some institutional reorganization, create the Office of Public Safety. And what he says is that police officers are spending way too much time investigating or responding to small things, when in fact they should be spending their time investigating big things, serious crimes. And so he'd like to reorganize and create a special force that would respond to small things, Small things remains to be defined, but certainly mental health crises, disputes between neighbors, trash in the streets, just things that people reflexively now call the police for, but it's really a waste of their time. So he's saying fewer cops, more focused on particularly egregious crimes, upping the clearance rate, meaning the number of arrests per crime that's reported, and being strategic about how we use them. And I think he says we'll realize in the end significant savings if we do that. If we have a better clearance rate, then we're going to have a better heightened public safety.
I also asked Professor Fagan what he believes is the biggest public safety issue that has been overlooked by all of the leading candidates.
Well, there's two sides. One, what are the crime problems that are not being addressed? And I think what are the criminal justice responses that are sort of over-responding? I saw just today a story about high-speed crashes, and Tish has moved on that, and she's done it very well. And it's a real problem. I've seen the data on that. That's the kind of thing that's doable. I think the public would recognize it because it puts the public at risk more so than anybody else. I'm sure officers don't enjoy the idea of racing around at 70 miles an hour on the streets of New York. So there's some things like that, which are now going to be addressed by Tish in her last days under this administration. New York has shootings and murders. Shootings are down, but not as much as murders are down. So I think he still has some work to do about firearms. That's a tough case because they're out there. We're not clear whether the number of firearms is increasing that are available on the street or whether there are a much greater propensity to use them or a lesser propensity. But I think there has to be something that the public can see. I can see it because I read the data. The public needs to see it because they can hear and see what the data are saying. So he's got to have some kind of minister of information within the police world that's spreading the good word.
Do you think that?
I do think firearms is the biggest one, and I think the disorder that's created by unhoused people has to be addressed, and that's where he might well get his biggest victories on the public safety question.
Next, we'll be taking a look at social media campaigns of the three candidates and asking how they've been using different platforms to grow their support base. But first, a quick break.
Right now, our world feels divided, but out here, we have so much in common. We fish the same waters, roam the same fields, raise families under the same open sky. Out here, there's no left or right. We all share a love of wildlife and wild places. But now, the animals we love and the lands we treasure are threatened, gone, unless we defend them. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about standing together, because up to 1 million species face extinction unless we unite and act to save them. We are their last line of defense. We are defenders of wildlife. Join us as we band together to protect our wildlife and wild places. Because in our love for what we share, we are closer than you think. Be a wildlife defender. Learn more at defenders.org.
We come back with breaking news. The Associated Press have announced that Zohran Mamdani has won the mayoral election with over 50% of the vote. Now,
we are going to hear from students from Columbia University.
Social media has... Okay, no, actually in a change of plan after that announcement from the Associated Press, we're going live to Zach Jaworski, who is at the campaign headquarters of Zohran Mamdani.
Hi, how's it going, Oliver? As you guys just reported, they just called this race now for Zohran Mamdani. I don't think people were expecting that early of a night. I mean, I have to say, I've been out since 6:30 this morning. I've been covering this race. There were Mamdani supporters out, and they were energized that early today. It's now 14, 15 hours later, and people are still out. They're still energized. The line was around the block. The entirety of Brooklyn seemed to be wanting to get into this hottest ticket in town. And now the race called this early for Zohran Mamdani. There was an audible cheer when that happened. I wish you guys could cut in just a second earlier, but that's all right. But yeah, people seem excited here, and the crowd isn't even really full. They're still expecting about 2,000 people here. Now we're waiting to see if Mr. Mamdani will come on stage anytime soon. You hear that right there.
I mean, what's the mood there?
Thank you, Zach. Now we're going to hear from reporter Shivangi Sen. Shivangi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
What's the mood like there at the Cuomo camp?
Well, excitement and enthusiasm has still not dampened here. People are still cheering for Andrew Cuomo, still waiting for the man to appear and address them. And they're still hoping that the tide will turn in his favor, even though the election has been called for Mamdani by some polls. The opinion right now in this room is not that. They're holding out. They're still holding on, thinking that Andrew Cuomo is going to turn the tide in his favor and the election will be called for him shortly.
Shivangi, how many people are in attendance?
I think there's close to like 300 to 400 people in attendance right now, from reporters to journalists to socialites to just general supporters out on the street lining up to get into the ballroom and get a glimpse of Cuomo, who's reported to be here shortly. There are quite a few people out here showing their placards, holding out banners in support for Cuomo and hoping that he's going to win this election.
I mean, it's extraordinary. We really didn't expect the election to be called this soon. Our program's running for an hour, 9 till 10, and we absolutely did not expect to be announcing the election tonight. We are going to go back to Zach at the headquarters shortly when we get him. Skylar, thoughts?
I'm just taken back. I didn't realize that it would happen right in the middle of the newscast and then not even at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of had two ideas for tonight. We thought either the race was going to be a lot closer than people thought, or it was going to be more of a blowout than anyone predicted, and that's what turned out tonight. So we're going to go back to Zach now. Zach, can you hear me there at Mamdani headquarters?
Good. When do you want me on?
Hi, Zach. Have you got me?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we've got you, Zach. How are people reacting there?
Well, as you can hear behind me, it's a raucous crowd already. This feels a bit more like a club than a political rally. Right up there, there's a DJ's booth. They just put on Many Men by 50 Cent. People are excited, and it's not even full capacity yet. There are still people in line outside. That's how early this race got called. People are really, really optimistic. They were optimistic all day, and this race just got called. When I was talking in line with people, they said they had cautious optimism. That cautious optimism has went out the window, and now it's full-on celebration here in Brooklyn.
Amazing. And are there any thoughts on how late that party's going to go tonight?
Well, I don't know how long the party is going to stay here, but I've heard there are plenty of parties at clubs across the city that Mr. Mamdani may or may not be making appearances at too. So how long he'll be sticking around here, we don't know quite yet. We're expecting him to be on stage sometime within the next hour or so, though.
Paying really closely. Did anybody in the campaign expect it to be called this quickly?
No, so I was talking to campaign staffers outside for about an hour while I was waiting in line with the press. That's another thing. There are so many people waiting in line to get, like I said earlier, this is one of the hottest tickets in town. When I was talking to the campaign, I had plenty of time to do so. That was the word they used constantly, was cautious optimism. They saw the polls, and of course, like Professor Mehta was talking about earlier, you know, polling aggregates are way more important than one-off polls, but those recent one-off polls showed the race tightening. But still, people here decided that was going to be a reason for them to be a little bit cautious about their optimism for Mamdani. But of course, looking over the course of the last few months, he's been leading in the polls by double digits, and that excitement seems to have dispersed here.
I mean, what does it mean for the Democratic Party? It looks like Mamdani's going to win with a plurality, given the race has been called this early. What are your thoughts on the outlook for the party going forward?
Yeah, so one other thing people brought up is that a Mamdani win tonight, and Mamdani wasn't talking about margins earlier, he was just wanted to get over the post. But what people have been talking about is this could be the biggest win for the Progressive Party and the progressive movement in America since FDR was elected back in the 1930s. As for what that means, none of us were around for that. It's kind of tough to imagine, but people are really excited on the progressive side. This could be a litmus test for a national change Democratic Party, and you've been seeing that all over. The press here isn't just from New York City. There is press here from New York. There's press here from Washington, D.C. There's press here from Miami. There's press here from Los Angeles. this isn't just New York's race anymore. This is America's race. It has a national implication, and we'll just have to wait and see what that looks like. We have, of course, a big midterm season coming up next year, so we'll have to wait and see what that looks like at the national level.
Well, thank you so much, Zach. Now stay with us. We have a quick break.
We are mercy on a mission. Together we bring hope and healing.
When you see the changes in people's lives, these are the things that makes your life really worthwhile.
Shared our laughter, held our tears, built a bond that outlasts years.
Even though I know we are here for work, sometimes it doesn't feel like it because it's just people you love.
This experience has definitely staying with me for as long as I have memory.
The bonds we formed forever, they last.
To see how you can change lives, visit mercyships.org today.
Welcome back. Victoria is on campus right now. Victoria, are you there with me?
Yes, I'm here, Skylar, and I'm joined by Avery Young. So, Avery, Zohran Mamdani is in the lead right now. How are you feeling, and did you vote today?
So, I'm registered in Colorado, where I'm from, so I did not vote in today's mayoral election, but I'm excited. Just from what I've seen, New Yorkers seem very hopeful about Mamdani. And yeah, I think it's cool that he's a younger candidate. I think his policies are very interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what the polls show in the coming hours.
What have you heard on campus? I know today I was out and I was talking to a variety of people about how they felt. It was very Mamdani heavy. But what are you hearing from people?
I'm also hearing Mamdani heavy with younger constituents. I have not spoken to anyone around our age or people on campus that are interested in the other two candidates. But yeah, mostly everyone I'm speaking to is all for Mamdani.
Thank you so much, Avery. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks a lot, Victoria. Now, Hot Girls for Zohran is a grassroots movement that was started independent of the official Mamdani campaign to try and attract young people to its cause. It was clearly very successful in doing that. Mabel Pickering has this afternoon been speaking to Kate Camellia, a key figure in the organisation. She's got the inside look at their election day plans.
Hello, it's Mabel Pickering for Columbia Journalism School, and I'm here with Kate Camellia, the co-founder of Hot Girls for Zohran. Hi, Kate.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How are you feeling for tonight?
I am feeling very excited and very hopeful.
Okay, this is extremely, extremely exciting times. So Hot Girls for Zohran has become a cultural movement. Why do you think this is, and how have you made this happen?
I think it is because we have done something that hasn't been done in a while in politics, which is really center community, center joy, and center fun. I think when we started off and we set off to do was to make politics something that wasn't boring and dreadful and awful, like what I think a lot of young people are used to, because so much of our lives have been, politics being something that is terrible news or something that is like, oh, this is tragic. I think a lot of people have become apathetic. And so what we really wanted to do with this movement was create something that brought some fun back into it. Not so much a distraction from the terrible things that are going on, but really, highlighting all of the positive things and all of the hope that is still existent in our society. I have had so many people come up to me and say, I have been trying to get my friends to canvass for politicians for years and even canvass for Zohran, and they only came out because they wanted a Hot Girl shirt, or like they were interested in going to this Hot Girls event, and that's where they learned about canvassing, and that got them canvassing for Zohran. And so I think one of the biggest indicators to me was I was walking around New York the other day, I think it was in Brooklyn, and I saw a Hot Girls for Zohran sticker on a telephone pole, and we have never made stickers. So it was really incredible to me because it was like, oh, someone, went out of their way to make stickers of Hot Girls for Zohran, even though we couldn't do it ourselves.
And we're currently at the venue for the watch party right now. How many people are you expecting to turn up?
I think a little bit over 380, around 400.
Okay, well, Kate, have a great night and thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Mabel Pickering is here with us in studio now. Thanks for joining us, Mabel. Could you first explain why you think Hot Girls for Zoran became so successful and such a large cultural movement?
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for having me. First of all, I just can't believe that the election's been called so early.
It's extraordinary.
I know.
It really is extraordinary.
I know.
But yes, so I mean, as Kate said in the video, part of the movement's aim was to inject fun into politics. But what's interesting is that Hot Girls for Zoran has worked because it's the first political formation in New York that has treated young voters as primary actors. And crucially, it has treated politics like a genre, almost an aesthetic, which made the mayoral election accessible and relevant to young New York voters. And as we can see, that worked a treat.
It's extraordinary. I mean, do you think that they've had a meaningful impact on turnout? Because, I mean, we don't have the breakdown yet and statistics-wise, but it seems likely that young people have turned out in their droves for this election.
Absolutely, and even when I've been out reporting, I've noticed that lots of the canvassing volunteers, they are all hot girls. And also, as Kate said, lots of people have become politically active through Hot Girls for Zoran. So in this regard, it has sort of acted as a springboard for young people to become politically aware.
And have other candidates been able to use their social media presence like this?
Well, yes. I mean, of course, Cuomo and Sliwa, they both utilised social media in their campaigns, but not to the scale nor success as Mamdani. In the Mamdani race, including the Hot Girls for Zoran platform, social media wasn't just about distribution, it was about creating a brand. And this brand could then bring in high-profile influencers like Emily Ratajkowski and even elected officials like Brad Lander, and they publicly opted in to the Hot Girls for Zoran. And it's this type of recognition that merged elite political messaging with Gen Z and pop culture. And it's this type of validation that helped make Hot Girls for Zoran a cultural movement and helped drive Zoran to victory.
And it clearly worked. Thank you so much, Mabel.
Thank you.
And now we turn to Shivangi. Shivangi, are you here with us?
Yes, hi. I am here at the watch party and I'm here with Jake Botch, who's here in support of Cuomo. The election has just been called for Mamdani. What do you have to say for that?
Absolutely devastating. Honestly, Cuomo wasn't the greatest candidate. I'd rather have Sliwa, but I understand I'm not delusional. I knew he wasn't going to win, so I wasn't going to waste a vote. So the next best thing was Cuomo. But bottom line, this is all devastating and it means nothing. The only thing that matters is that I'm going to be running for borough president, and we're going to be union strong, union proud. We're going to be capitalist and big business, all right? Jake Botch for union president and borough president. This is all BS. Nobody cares anymore about this horrible mayoral race. The guy won, the city's downhill for the next 4 years. Next best thing you got is me, and I'm telling you that for free.
What policies of Cuomo do you think would have made him a better fit, or you was just going for Sliwa all the way through? I mean, you're here at his watch party tonight.
Cuomo's policies suck too. Sliwa was the right guy for the job. He truly is a good guy, and he loves the city. But I guess he doesn't love the city that much because he didn't drop out. We would have had a shot to beat Zoran if he dropped out. But he got paid by George Soros under the table. We all know the truth, all right? I'm the only one that's not going to be taking money under the table because I'm union. And unions don't do that. Unions look out for brotherhood, all right? Big business, capitalism. Borough president, here I come.
But there have been so many unions across the city that have consistently endorsed Mamdani. I mean, there must have been a reason for that.
Yeah, because I'm not the union president of those idiot. I'm sorry, those less intelligent unions. If I was the union president, I wouldn't have endorsed any of them because they're all horrible. I do like Sliwa, though, but he's not a good guy. He should have dropped out. He should have gave us a fighting chance.
Great. Thank you so much. That's
Jake
what supporters
Botch,
have to say
borough
today.
Thank you, Shivangi. Now, reporter Sydney Craypour caught up with Mamdani, asking him about how the day went.
Mamdani, can I ask you a quick question? I was just curious, what's your biggest surprise today, your first voting day?
Biggest surprise?
Your least unexpected aspect of today?
It's a very strange mix of emotions where in one way you are counting down the hours for polls to close, and in another way you don't want this to end because it's been an incredible journey, and the team that we have, the coalition around us, it's one that inspires the possibility of hope in the city, and I can't wait to work with these same people to deliver that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We'll take questions like.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could. Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician, and that was one of the #1 things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect and almost died. If my parents waited just one more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life.
And now my son is happy and healthy. The American Heart Association gives kids and families hope of a healthy future.
Learn more at helpheart.org.
Imam Suleiman Kanate, spiritual leader of the Masjid Asker Mosque in Harlem, had endorsed Andrew Cuomo a couple of days ago for the mayor of New York. People in his mosque, however, were not all supportive of that and have voted for Mamdani instead. Shivangi earlier today has been asking Muslims in Harlem who they voted for and why.
I'm outside Masjid Aqsa Salam in Harlem, where the Muslim community is split this election day. Imam Suleiman Konate, the spiritual leader of this masjid, had endorsed Andrew Cuomo a couple of days ago, stating that he's the leader that can get people together and is exactly what New York City needs right now. However, worshippers of this masjid have shared with me that they do not share the same sentiment with their imam and have instead voted for or plan to vote for Zohran Mamdani instead.
This is not Quran word, and this is not our prophet word, his word. And he is not saying the religious speech. This is political speech. Political speech can be different for everyone.
We have a lot of older guys who have been in politics. Their families are full of politicians, and it's time to change the game. We need a fresh beginning, and I think that fresh beginning is with Mamdani.
Whatever he promised, maybe he cannot be fulfill all of them. It is impossible. Okay, but it's just beginning.
As voting wraps up tonight, this Harlem mosque symbolizes a wider tension across the city, one between representation and leadership. Whether Cuomo's message or Mamdani's movement wins out, the results could signal where the Muslim voters of New York are headed next. With camera person Gustav Muckensturm, this is Shivangi Sen for CJS News.
And now we're going to hear from our reporter at Curtis Lewa's headquarters.
Hi, I'm here at Curtis Lewa's watch party, and just a few moments earlier he was up on that stage giving his concession speech, and in that speech he framed the results as a setback, but he said he will hold Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani accountable, even though he wished him good luck, saying that he has to make sure that Zohran Mamdani serves all of New York, and has described that this shouldn't be socialism taking over capitalism. Now I'm here at the watch party. I have a long-time supporter here with me, supporting Mr. Sliwa since 2021. She is Ms. Millie Hui. So, Millie, what are your thoughts about the results tonight?
I feel like we fought very hard. I don't feel like we lost. I feel very happy, proud of myself, and proud of the people I associated with. As you can tell, people are not sad here. For me, I did my part. I did what I believed in. I did not betray my morals, my values, and my principles. I still think Curtis Lewa is the best candidate to be the mayor. But congratulations to Mamdani. I hope that he will bring peace to New York City and listen to all New Yorkers, all the constituents, and that he won't let he won't let his supporters down that believed in him. I'm just happy. I'm glad that I fought.
And I guess you told me earlier that you were helping his campaign over the past few days. What has that experience been like for you?
The experience has been wonderful. I've had great reception in Lower Manhattan and Chinatown. The people were really happy to see me representing Seaward.
I really have to go. Thank you so much. Back to you guys in the studio. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We're now going to cut back to Zach, who I believe is still at Mamdani headquarters. Zach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Oliver, and I am still here, and so are the 2,000 other people who are showing up for this Zohran Mamdani event tonight. And listening back to what Sydney said about Mr. Mamdani's biggest surprise of the day, I'm sure he'd amend that to having the race called before 10 o'clock at night. I don't think anybody was expecting that this early. Also, I think he might change a little bit too. You know, he said it, he didn't want it to end, he didn't want the excitement of the campaign to end. Now he gets to try his hand at government. It's really just starting for Mayor-elect Mamdani.
Well, that's a wrap on our coverage tonight. It's been a historic election regarding voter turnout. With the victor as Zohran Mamdani, he will be the next mayor of New York City. For now, good night.
Good night.